just one technical thing. So this year, Innovation Zero, we want to see action and we want to see problems being solved. So for that, we are the first event in the world to partner with a new startup, Ideonomy. So Innovation Zero Ideonomy is a collaborative innovation community that will bring people together across sectors to solve problems supported by machine learning and AI. So you will see QR codes dotted around the event where you can submit, view and rank the most important problems across each forum. This will create a prioritized list of problems so we know where to focus our joint innovation efforts. After the event, we'll set up a series of new problem-solving teams where we can meet people who share the same problem as you, regardless of what sector they come from. We'll then connect problem owners to solution providers so we can create a positive change. So yeah, please scan QR code to get going. And I'm happy to pass over to our moderator, Tom Oddo, Chief Analyst for Climate Change and Sustainability at Dstl. Thank you.
Great, thank you very much, and good afternoon. It's an absolute pleasure to be here with you all this afternoon and talk through some of the activities that we're doing within the Ministry of Defence to really get after this global challenge. And it's great that we're able to follow the previous session. They've really done a great job in setting the challenge for us, or setting the scene of what we're trying to get after. We're going to go into a little bit more detail, go into some of the specifics around some of the technologies that we're really trying to look at and how we can work with people to get those solutions. So very quickly, to introduce myself, Tom Odell. I am the Chief Analyst for the Defence Science and Technology Laboratory. So we're part of the Ministry of Defence. We're here to provide those technological solutions and the evidence base for the Ministry of Defence to make great policy decisions and for our armed forces to keep operating and have that operational advantage. So again, so building from the last session, there was a lot of conversation about the risks that we face, whether that be climate change, exposing us to things like more droughts, flooding, extreme weather, and that causes instability, and instability causes conflict. We as a forces need to get in front of that, understand it, and be prepared for it. There's also the physical challenges that we're going to face. Our people working in extreme heat conditions, our equipment. We've already seen some very specific challenges today from where our equipment is not performing as effectively as we want it to be. That's going to get worse. We need to adapt now to the threats from climate change. There's also kind of the wider legal and regulatory part of this. The Ministry of Defence emits over half of central government's carbon emissions. We have 1% of the UK landmass. If we don't do our bits, then government isn't going to get towards net zero. So we have an imperative to be part of this journey with it. But I also want to paint a slightly different picture on this one as well. So I'm going to take you back 15 years when we were operating in Afghanistan. All of our consumables, our fuel, our food, our water, we transported that into our operating bases by truck. It cost us $500 a gallon for diesel. Sadly, most of our casualties came from those logistics resupplies. We took resources away from the local communities, causing that kind of little bit of conflict in certain situations. Our logistics convoys had to be escorted by our fighting forces, took them away from that front line. Well, let's change that dynamic. How can we look at embracing sustainable technologies as an opportunity? What if you can now harvest drinking water in theatre, generate your own energy sources, You're really shifting the dynamic of operations here. There's very clear military benefits as well as sustainability benefits. So let's look at this as something that can give us that competitive edge. So I'm absolutely thrilled to introduce the panel now, and I've got some really good speakers who are going to provide a very different perspective on their kind of areas. Firstly, we've got Colin Hart here, who is from ADS, so like a previous speaker, who are the trade organization representing aerospace, defense and security. Sarah Wallace from the UK Strategic Command, doing some great work there on finding and investing in some technological solutions in the sustainability area. Kaz Pitt from the Defence Science Technology Laboratory as well, doing some brilliant work on the forward base, what technologies we need there. And then finally, at the end, Kalin Sama, who is from Ploughshare, part of Dstl, but very much involved with generating the ecosystem and spinning out solutions for technological solutions to industry. Right, that's enough chat from me. I'm going to pass it over to the panel, so I'm going to start with a really open question. Can you just introduce some of the challenges that you're looking at, specifically on the sort of sustainability area, and really go into a little bit about what you're working on? I'm going to start with Sarah. My eye was drawn to you first, Sarah. Please.
Wow, there's a lot of challenges. So to pick on one that I think is really important and that we're working on right now is the culture and understanding and the mindset shift to see climate risks, such as will my kit operate in a new environment in a 2 and 4 degree world, and the opportunities of actually electrification and self-sufficiency that you pointed out. How do I shift that our workforce in defense are thinking that way? They're planning for that. It's not just dabbling in little innovations and little pet projects. Actually, it's part of our core thinking. And Stratcom is about 8 organizations really in one. So it's complex in itself. So a couple of examples where those challenges. In the intelligence world, our analysts are the ones that are thinking about the threat to the future. And so they need to understand those climate risks to our people and the operational spaces. You've got digital technologies. What happens if we're just we're not being sustainable. We're not thinking about circularity. We're mining in conflict zones, rare materials, when actually we could be sourcing them at home. And then the overseas bases, self-sufficiency, like on operations. Why aren't we using wind power to generate? Why are we shipping diesel out? So there's so many challenges that we're trying to solve today in Stratcom.
Brilliant. Yeah. Big challenges.
Big challenges.
Great. Kalin, can I go to you next, please?
As a tech transfer arm of MOD, our challenges are different. And my business unit is pretty new, so we have been in inception only for a year now. So the main challenge for us is how we build the foundation, for technologies that are being developed within MOD or Dstl labs. So as a part of that, we are doing 3 things. One is building the pipeline, and MOD never worked on developing technology for sustainability, So we are looking into how we can use those technologies, some of the sensing or digital technologies that can be implemented for climate and environment. Second thing, what we are trying to do is to building our own capability in terms of engaging with industry, because we want to understand the challenges of industry who are developing sustainability challenge, but also how our technology that's been developed within Dstl for this application and how we build the synergy and partnership. And the last part is building an ecosystem, because a lot of technologies which we have or we are working on or working with our partners, we still need to anticipate some of the risks for those technologies. So how we build that ecosystem from policymakers to industry, people who can scale up, so that once those technologies are ready, we can really implement it or use them for wider societal changes. So those are some of the challenges we are facing in terms of building the foundation. But in long term, I'm very, very confident once we build that foundation, we can really accelerate faster once we have them in place.
Brilliant. Thank you, Kalin. I really like your points about building the ecosystem there. I think it'd be a very naive approach for defense to think that we can find the solutions to the problems we face from climate change and sustainability. And that's why it's such a great opportunity to come and speak to you all today from different sectors to provide that input. This is the only way that we're going to innovate, from getting those different perspectives to work together for the solutions. But Kaz, can I go to you next, please?
Hi everyone. So I'm Kaz. I work for Dstl. I'm in the PACE project that I'm the technical authority for. So this is where we're trying to accelerate and exploit various technologies in the space that we're looking at. We're specifically looking at one of the challenges that Sarah's mentioned. So looking at the deployed space specifically and how we can actually try and achieve or understand what technologies are available so that we can achieve self-sufficiency in that deployed space. We're looking at working across 5 main themes within that. So as much as it's only one of Sarah's challenges, it's still very broad in itself because we're looking at water, food, waste, energy and materials. The idea being that, as Tom was alluding to earlier, that we're wanting to try and reduce that logistics chain burden and try and make it so that our forces are self-sufficient and that they can just rely on themselves. They don't necessarily need the continuous resupply. And whilst we're doing that, it's also keeping in mind that by incorporating these new technologies, we obviously don't want to lose that operational effectiveness. That's still really important. And there's also the other challenges that mod are facing as well, and the fact that we're signing up to net zero commitments. So it's trying to make sure that whatever we're doing is the benefit for all of those. So still, albeit just one of the challenges, a big challenge in itself as well.
Great, thank you, Kaz. And I just found it's Kaz's birthday today as well, so thank you for joining us on your birthday.
Thank you, Tom.
Colin, finally, please.
Yeah, thanks everyone. So Colin Hart, just to give you a bit of background, been in defence buying for about 35 years, so Thales, Leonardo, Kinetic, Babcock, Air Tanker. So my take on this really is I absolutely agree. There is a huge range of problems. And we're looking to our supply chain, and we're all, of course, part of that supply chain, to help us fix this problem. And I heard a great quote earlier on to say, climate change is no longer a risk. We've gone past the 1.5 point. It's now an issue. The time to act is now, and we need to act quickly. So what our focus very much is about, not only the products, but also the organisations that deliver those products, the processes they use, and the skills those people have. So here at ADS, we're very much looking at the supply chain that's helping deliver both the products to the front line, but also some of those other targets, the 2035 target and the 2050 target. How is our supply chain going to achieve that? So it's really about understanding where we are and then giving them a roadmap, and some of you may have heard Samir earlier, giving them a roadmap of what they might need to do. Most organisations have already started the journey. They've got solar panels. They might even have thought about where they get energy. But it's connecting those dots and helping those people through that process. We cannot let perfection stand in the way of progress. We need to start the journey now, even though we don't have a perfect answer.
Yeah, it's a great point, and I couldn't agree more with your points about it not being a risk anymore. It's 100% an issue, and the time for action is now. And we have to do our bit to mitigate the effects of climate change and adapt to it. But again, there's that bit around the sort of very specific defence bit. The opportunity is that it's going to affect our adversaries as well. So if we really harness the innovations, sustainability innovations for the defence context, I truly believe there is that opportunity there for us to do business better. But going slightly a bit more into the detail on that one, defence does have some very specific challenges and sort of technological solutions, but it also can pull on those sort of wider sectors for military application. I'll be really keen to come hear from the panel if you've got any examples of where we've done that, where we've taken some solutions from across sectors for the Ministry of Defence's needs. Kaz, I'm going to start with you, please, if that's all right.
So we've been looking at the different technologies that we can be bringing into Dstl and trying to support that self-sufficiency, as we talked about. And across those 5 themes, it's where we're starting to delve down into which ones can be the most applicable and provide the most impact. So looking at the energy side of things is, so what are the different battery configurations that you can have to try and actually generate batteries that can be stored or generated more easily, or that can last for longer, or that can be used in conflicts, and that they're the safest ones that we're wanting to be using. So it's trying to understand what all of those different options are, which there are also many in there. And then also how we can harvest energy as well. So how can we use the environments that we're in, understanding obviously climate change going forward as well and how that's going to be changing. How can we harvest the energy that's in that environment? That goes for water as well. So what is it that we can be doing in the local environment to harvest the water for us to be using, so that we're not having to transport lots and lots of water back and forth, which obviously takes up a lot of fuel too. And then going into the food is how can we actually produce food at the point of need. So trying to generate or trying to utilise some of the technologies that are available to us, and trying to incorporate some of that. And then looking at the end of all of this is everything generates waste. We talked about this and we touched on this at the previous talk. And how can we actually make the waste a product that we can use going forward? And rather than it be that we have to be transporting it away from where we are, how can we actually use it in situ? So they're the things that we're starting to go through to have a look at what we can pull in and what we can use.
Brilliant. Thank you, Kaz. And Colin, I'm going to go to you. Have you seen any examples of where we've done this, brought things in from different sectors?
Yeah, I'm going to start. I'm trying to put a slide with a process. So we're running it, and this is lessons learned really. So we've been running some programs about technology exploitation. So we had NATEP, which was national aerospace. We've got a STEP, which is a space technology project, and we're also working with DASA on what we now call DTEP, which is defence technology exploitation. So there are a number of programs. They're all out there on the website. The one that's come to mind, or the one I sort of made a note of this morning, is we're working with Northrop Grumman and Space Forge, and we delivered the first in-space manufacturing platform that can be returned to Earth. So there's a specific for you. But more importantly, it's no one has got the answer to all of this. We need to collaborate to sort this out. So the collaboration across sector is really, really important. Quite often, we all got a Velcro's jacket. Where did that come from, I wonder? So quite often innovation, and we need quite a bit of it if we're going to hit that 2035 target, comes from within. So that's my example.
Absolutely. Great. No, thank you. Really good example. Kalyan.
Yeah, so as probably many of you know, in addition to Dstl and MOD, we also work very closely with the National Oceanography Center and Met Office, so which is like a part of our ecosystem, and you talked about bringing partnerships. So that's what we are trying to do, to see how we can combine some of the technologies that's been developed within Dstl and MOD, and some of the technologies which are really matured in National Oceanography Center or Met Office, how we can combine them together. I can give some examples in terms of sensing and digital technologies. We see a lot of potential there. We have engaged with industry, and they see quite a lot of interest in, for example, understanding a baseline fact of where the emission is coming from. So there's a lot of technology that's required in that, and I think some of the previous panel has mentioned about how we sort of mitigate some of the CO2 emission, where it's coming from. And I think there's a lot of challenges around that. So we see a lot of technologies within the sort of organizations we are working on that can be really tailored to for that, to understand the baseline fact, where the methane emission is coming from, where CO2 is coming from, where we can use some of the imaging technologies we see can be used to understand how the land masses are changing because of climate change, for example, and how we can feed that back to industry, for example, to meet their TFCD targets, to go for raising sort of more impact finance. So these are some of the areas we're working on. But I think we have a journey to cover still. But what we have taken the approach of building more portfolio approach rather than going out on individual sort of technology basis, because you have to really show your toolkits and the playbook to industry and users, how you use them, and let them choose and pick. And then based on that, how we work with the supply chain of Hellusen to make it more economically viable for industry. Yeah.
Great. Thank you. Sarah, finally.
So I wish there were more examples, if I'm honest.
Yeah.
I think that we're definitely doing some great innovations. One example with us in Stratcom that's quite new is beam solar car charging. You can also use that solar energy into a storage facility that you can then use on other capabilities. And that's fantastic. That's happened. It's on a small scale in Cyprus. Wouldn't it be great if the funding and the contracts were in place to make that a thing, not just a one-off? And I think that's the next step in that particular example. Stratcom itself has set up an innovation fund for this year to try and get after that exact point. So what technologies are there that everybody's already using that we should be using, but perhaps we're adverse to it, we're risk averse in defense. We don't want to send people out with kit that might not work, that the technology might fail because we didn't try it in the operation space. And also, there's a culture that is, we know what we know and let's stick with what we know, and it's quite expensive to plan for the future. So we've got to change that, and we hope this is the first step, and we're collaborating all together, and it's a big defense innovation working group that we've set up to try and shift that. And I think it's important that everyone gets behind us now, because it's the start of something, and we've spoken about it, getting it into the next review. This needs to be a funded program of work if it's going to actually happen, and with industry, with partners, and yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. And what kind of the whole panel has spoken about really kind of shows where we are on this journey. You know, defense hasn't typically been in the sustainability business, if we're kind of totally honest, and we've not looked at this as both an area that we need to manage risk against or as that opportunity. So we need to build the ecosystem. We need to be aware of the solutions. We know what we know. We need to work with you all to help us find out what is the cutting edge of technology that can support us. So do come and talk to us if you think you can contribute. Really do want to hear about it, genuinely. We have the money to put into it. What excites you all? What technologies really excite you in the sort of sustainability, climate change area that we should be getting after? What can you see in like that 5-year horizon coming over the hill that we need to be sort of getting on top of? Maybe we don't know at the moment. Maybe that's to the earlier point that we need to understand more of this area. But I'm really keen to know what your kind of thoughts are. Let's start at the other end. Let's go to Callian, please.
Yeah, it's very exciting today. There's a lot of talk about SAF and hydrogen, for example, where there was collaboration between BP and Johnson Matthey, for example. So a lot of scaling up is happening. But moving into sort of those other technologies, I think can solve the net zero issues for next 15 years, 20 years. But what is beyond that? I mean, we have to think about not only net zero, but what is real zero beyond net zero. So I see digital technology, especially machine learning and AI. I think I haven't heard a lot of panel talking about it. You know, it's a huge potential in terms of coming up with new material. Somebody talked about material security earlier. We need to think about how we can use machine learning and AI and use those innovative technologies from startups to come up with new formulations. You know, rather than using more material, how we can secure our supply chain by being more innovative and more efficient, for example. So I see that's an exciting area. In terms of energy transition itself, I think fusion reaction has a big potential, and the nuclear as well. There's a lot of work going on in the UK. I think we are pioneer in this field. And in UKEA, as you probably know, outside Oxford, they're working on tokamak technologies and a lot of other fusion technologies. So these are the two key areas I see, but also a lot of innovation moving in the existing areas like, sustainable aviation fuel. Because there are still a lot of challenges in terms of innovation within the supply chain, the technology work, scaling up work. But there are a lot of risk involved within that, and we don't know what are the innovations required from in between that supply chain to provide those technologies in a scalable manner. So these are some of the things I see will be very exciting in coming years, and working with the value chain and supply chain. Yeah.
Brilliant. Thank you, Callian. Let's work our way down. Kaz.
So rather than technologies, I think the way that we try and collaborate with technologies is the bit that excites me. I think that if you can put in the demand of the users, the suppliers, if you can really start to work together, understand the challenge point, that's going to be really exciting for me. I think that's because if you understand it and you're working together and collaborating, it means that I can actually do what the title of my project says, so I can accelerate and I can exploit. It makes it far easier, it makes it quicker, people are expecting it, they're already on board. The hard work's done, so if you can get that collaboration, first of all, that's what I think really excites me. I think the scalability, actually trying to provide something from the outset that's suitable for in the area that I'm specifically looking in with the deployed force, so that it's actually fit for purpose, whether it's stationary, if it's static, or if it's outmaneuvers, or if it's for a small patrol, or if it's for a larger patrol. So having something that's taking these technologies and making them scalable to actually make them fit for purpose. And then the biggest thing for me is actually trying to go that one step further, with Dstl being wanting to have that future focus and where are we going to be going, is the circular economy piece, so going back into the feed source, so the waste of one starting to feed the other, and how can we actually design something that's a circular economy that we can use in that deployed space, and really starting to ask those questions now and seeing how quickly we can try and address those with the collaboration techniques that we're talking about through these sorts of events, and driving that forward as fast as possible and making the most from it.
Brilliant, thank you. Sarah?
I think I'll build on that as well. I think totally agree with everything you said. In addition, I think our funding mindset needs to shift completely in defence. I think that collaborations from industry and actually joint collaborative finance, not being scared of the fact that we were burnt in the past from perhaps management situations where we didn't manage the collaborative funded projects. But I think there is huge opportunity there, and I think for me, go back to this exciting technology question, the actual question. I think we've got quite a few coming through. Generating, we've got them downstairs, wastewater into a fuel, into a technology. Well, fantastic. Why aren't we amending our AquaTree, our water management service contracts to incorporate those technologies as they come through, make our contracts a bit more mobile? They tend to be quite static, and we're stuck in a 10-year issue, and we have to wait till it expires to insert the good technology. And then we've got microgrids on operations. We were talking about it earlier. They're fantastic. The electrification, it's energy agnostic. So why not get it today? Even if we're using diesel, we can still innovate. People are doing it. So I'd like to see us in 5 years' time, perhaps a self-sufficient operation which uses multiple energy sources, green, diesel if it has to still exist, which it probably will, perhaps hydrogen as well. Who knows? Exciting.
Yeah, absolutely. Colin.
Yeah, just stolen some of my what I was going to say. No, not at all. That implementation of the hydrogen and that cross-sector thing, when are we having the first hydrogen chain between London and Bristol? Why we need to drive this technology into various areas. Absolutely, I think one of the other fundamental changes was actually what Carolyn said was that about the logistics. We got fantastic AI. We've got much better ability to plan, understand where assets are now. I see the next 5 years that really coming to fruition, and that will reduce waste. At the moment, there's so much waste and disruption throughout that supply chain. You start with a very simple signal at one end, and by about 3 tiers down, it's completely disruptive when we're making batches of 10 when we need 2. That information for me is a really important area we could do. It's something we could do quite easily, and it would have a huge impact on the supply chain, and as a result, the amount of waste and energy and sustainability we could put into that. And the third one, if I can squeeze one in, is actually a little bit, going back to actually making sustainability absolutely at the forefront, or ESG, of a business plan. It's not an add-on. It's got to be right there. It feeds all the way through. Is your building energy efficient? What's the machines, are they effective? Where are you buying your energy from? Do the people know what they're doing? How do they get to work? Where are you buying your bits from? All of those things need to be embedded in the business plan, the business culture. To get this change done, we need to change our culture about what we consume. We are consuming the planet at a faster rate than we're replacing it. We've got to stop.
Yeah, powerful comment. I think we've probably got time for just one more, if that's all right. And I'll let you take it in either direction. Either sort of a final point that you want to make, or it'd be really great to actually discuss if you've got any opportunities coming up or any projects in which you may be able to engage with sort of the wider sectors. Colin, do you want to go first?
Yeah, just very quickly, you've heard me bang on about supply chain probably for quite a while now. One of the first things to do really is to find out where you are and have a plan. I always remember that old, and do something. I always remember that old story about the guy walking along the beach with all the starfish as he walked up after the storm, and there's a guy throwing them back in. And the guy goes, well, why are you doing that? There's thousands of starfish on this beach. You're never going to make an impact. He said, but that one I've just thrown back in, it's made a difference. So the first message I would like to say is get started. You will, we all know we don't know all the answers today, but we do know the general direction. We've got some tool sets around the supply chain about where we are. There's an ESG pathway that we're launching at Sustainable Skies in a few months. I urge you to start thinking about your businesses, whichever it is, wherever it sits in the supply chain, top, middle or bottom, there are things you can be doing and things you can start impacting straight away that will take us a little way towards that goal. If we all do a little bit, we can do it. So my urge is have a look at some of the stuff that we talked about, the ESG charter, but more importantly, some of those practical tools. There's an ESG roadmap. There's a competitive assessment. It's all there on the ADS website. It's all free to use. We're trying to make your business, our supply chain, our planet better. That's all we're trying to do.
Great. Brilliant. Thank you very much. Callian, any sort of final comments?
Tommy, if I may, could you repeat the question? I'm having difficulty hearing you, actually.
Yeah. No, just really the opportunity for any final comments, Callian.
Yeah, I think final message is, if we think about, I think we have got all the technologies for the next 15 years. I think you're talking about SAF, hydrogen, they need to scale up, then make it economically viable. We need to think about the technologies as beyond 15 years. And if you look at the technology landscape, innovation landscape, you've got hundreds of startups, hundreds of university departments working on unique IP on climate change and sustainability. So we need to think about how we develop the right evaluation process to speed up, where we can reach the right technology quicker and understand the risk better, so that we can already start working on, as a part of acceleration, building a supply chain and value chain. That slows things down. So that's one of the things I would like to say. Second is also we have to take a system of system approach. It's not good enough if we develop an energy storage facility or technology without thinking about the grid. But the grid is going to really help sustain that or support that. So taking much more of a system of system approach. And again, thinking about more socio-technical issues as well. If you want to deploy a wind turbine and you want to renew the license, you still have to go and consult the local communities. They might not give you the permission to do that. So you have to think about also the social impact. We talk about a lot of technology and business, but what does it mean for society? Well, people will accept it. Nobody like to see a big wind turbine next to their doorstep, right? I mean, this is common fact. So those are sort of some of the key things we need to think about. And the last aspect I see is policy has a big role to play, and I know all of you are very much involved, because harmonization of policy is very important, so that the adaptation is quicker. And the policy means, again, working with industry and see how those policy can lead to some of the regulation without prescribing too much about technology, but how those regulations can really help in not only subsidizing, but also encouraging a lot of innovation. So those are some of the key things I would like to highlight.
Great, brilliant. Thank you, Kalyan. Sarah, up to you.
Oof. I think for me it's how do we move faster. I think I'd love to just move at pace now. I think we've got a lot of, and people have a confidence that they can come with ideas, perhaps high readiness, low readiness, whatever they are, and know that they'll be taken forward if they're the right ideas. And just, we've got make our own systems easier. I think that's really important.
Yeah.
So we can actually drive the change we keep talking about at scale as well.
Brilliant, thank you. Kaz, you got the final spot.
So I think for me, it's bringing together that collaboration, understanding the different technologies, the different TRs, technology readiness levels, and it's really doing the push to understand what is available, who can we be working with, what technologies are available, how can we get hold of those, and just coming back to what Colin said earlier about DASA and the fact that that's our mechanism to work with industry. So that's the Defence and Security Accelerator within Dstl, and that's how we can start to build contracts with suppliers that are coming in, that they can offer up technologies so that they can address some of the challenges that we've raised here today. And I would encourage everyone to get on board with the DASA process and be aware of that if they're suppliers for this area, because that's how we would really like to push that through. And you would hope with it being an accelerator, it would move quickly as well, which is always the plan too. And having the breadth of obviously what we've seen out on the floor at our fingertips, that we've actually got those contracts in place that we could be working with them, with you, with suppliers. That's where I'd really like to. That's what I'd really like to see happening, and start to build some of the solutions that we've been talking about today.
Brilliant. Well, look, that's sadly our time. So I just want to probably wrap it up and just say that the panel have done a great job in kind of talking through the problem space. Actually, the previous panel as well. Defence is really taking this seriously now. We're starting to move away from that problem admiration into activity now. And now is the time to start acting if we really want to get in front of this challenge, or at least keep pace with the challenge. And to that effort, Defence is investing, and we want to work with people across the different communities. So please come and chat to us, either straight after this, or we've got a presence downstairs on the floor plate, the Dstl stand, and we'd be love to continue the conversation. So just finally, thank you to the panel. It's been brilliant having your expertise here today.
Is this the bit where you do the song?
No, we'll spare that one. But, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the day. Thank you all for coming.
Thanks very much.